Okay. It's about consistency, you know. And so that is why we're here today, and we're just going to keep going, whether people come or not, whether, you know, it'll be recorded for people to listen to later. And
Mhm.
that's what's important, is that it's there for people to listen to, but more importantly, me submitting to what they told me to do and following through.
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
can you hear all the rain in my background?
Not really. No.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I can show you. It is raining really, really hard. It's
Is
so
it the rainy
beautiful.
season?
It is rainy season. I
Mm.
just want some like some chai latte or a
Get
nice chamomile tea and enjoy the rain. Just the sound of the rain and the thunder. Can you hear the thunder?
no.
This is beautiful. Okay, so let's get into the podcast. This is our third podcast discussion. This is a series we started in the summer due to a couple, couple suggestions from people um, wanting to talk about certain subjects and have an open forum to discuss them. So here we are. So this is our third podcast discussion. Today is September 25th, 2021. I just returned to Africa from America, and we'll see how the discussion goes. I'll go ahead, Ashley, and turn it over to you so that you can start playing the podcast. And I'll go ahead and mute my line, and we'll see who joins us by the end of the 57 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Priestess Hanera. Thank you for joining all the way from Benin. I'm Ashley Johnson. I and will be the co-host for today. I started my journey my spiritual journey about a year and a half ago. My spiritual and entrepreneurial journey somehow has started all together. But I've been working with Priestess Hanera Bono for that long, and it's really been a transformative time. And I remember when I first started, I started listening to the podcast. I'm in Houston, and I know she was based in San Diego and now in Benin, but I used the podcast really to learn a lot, and it answered a lot of questions I had to begin my journey. So I wanted to just share that from my side, especially for those who are just, awakening and starting their spiritual journey. These podcasts are really can be used as a tool, especially and through all the changes. For this podcast, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I can find it. Okay. So we're going to, in this podcast discussion, listen first to episode 6, Spring Retreat 2020. This episode is I'll read the description. This episode goes over some of the highlights of the Divine Feminine Retreat in San Diego in 2020. Through divination process, the Divine Mother showed us how beautiful our lives were going to be. And then she gave us a roadmap to be able to meet our future selves. So this retreat was the springboard into the May detox in 2020. And the mantra for this retreat was I'm going to I'm going to be uncomfortable, but I know I can do it and I will be happier in the end. So I invite you to listen to this podcast. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to join and list them in the chat or in your messages. And then afterwards, we'll answer some questions, have some open discussion. Priestess Hanera may go into deeper some points within the podcast. So please enjoy.
Women are just, elated. They love the place. They love the venue. We get there and the host just had all types of, nice amenities for us, things that weren't even posted on the website. They were just, just really good to us. And that was like one of the first signs I said, okay, this is going to be good. And so we start going through with the plan. And immediately the divinities changed the plan. And I said, okay. So we did as much as we could on Friday. We had different activities planned. There were certain clearings and baths and spiritual things that we did Friday evening. And we started that process. It was great. And the intent of the retreat, so all week, let me go back. So all week I had been putting the intention into the retreat. It was supposed to be, springtime. So it was a cleanse. It was a spring clearing, spring cleanse. And I had came up with that, or they had given me that, I should say, giving respect to them, earlier in the year. And so all week I was just invoking for the cleanse to happen, for each person there to prepare them for a cleansing, because we wanted them to leave with all of the blessings and all of the wishes that they had being fulfilled from the Divine Mother, from their ancestors. We wanted to clear and clean their energy so that they can receive and attract all of the things that they wanted to achieve or ascend to in the second, third, and fourth quarters of the year. So that's what I have been invoking. That was the energies I had been pouring libations to. That was the offerings I had did, and the words that I had been calling over this particular retreat. Those words to cleanse, to purge, and to clear, to empty us out of all the things that keep us from moving in the direction that we want to move to. And so that was what I had been calling for. And so there were certain rituals on Saturday that I had lined out, certain prayer circles. We were supposed to, those who watched the live that I did on Facebook, preparing the women, we were going to go hiking. There was a portion of time where we were going to do our silent fast or time with your ancestors to reflect. There were all of those things. We were going to do those in the mountains. And hike. We were going to go hiking in the trails and just have time in nature. It was all about reconnecting with nature and clearing and purging any energy that wasn't serving to us. Well, I tell you what, I woke up early Saturday morning. And as a priest, I'm trained, every morning to check the energies. Every morning I do an energy check. That's a reading or a divination to see how the day is going to go, how the day is going to go for me, for those around me, anything that we need to adjust, anything that we say should or shouldn't do. You check the energy in the mornings. And I checked their energies early that morning. And they were just saying, you're not going to do any of the things you have planned. And I'm like, what? Why not? I didn't get it. And they were just, nope, you're not going to do this. Nope, you're not going to take the hike. Nope, you're not going to be in nature. Nope, you're not going to do any of the circles. Nope, you're not. And I'm like, what are we going to do? I had this whole plan, out for them. I had, everyone had their journals. Everyone had their, what other gifts did I bring for the ladies? We had the journals. They had their outfits. So we weren't all dressed alike, but we were all dressed in similar ways for the weekend, in clothes or cloth that allowed us to breathe and flow and let our femininity shine, and to give life to us, and to also, this is good, to also prepare us for our trip to Africa. And so I'm like, but I had all of these things. What do you mean we're not going to do these things? And so I just said again, telling myself, flow like water. So I said, well, tell me the plan that you have for me. Tell me what you would like done. And they proceeded early that morning and giving me the lineup for each woman that was there. Each woman had a specific plan. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful how their ancestors had all come and delivered a plan that was unique to each woman. I'm so moved, even trying to explain this right now. I'm just touched because it's nothing that I could have imagined or thought up or came up with myself. The details of these women's stories, the details of these women's lives, and the things that they needed to change in order to ascend to their next level in their becoming process couldn't be made up. It was just, wow. And I just would write everything down as they're giving it to me. And I'm getting every little bit down. And if I had questions, I would go back and ask the questions, and they just give me more and more and more and more and more. And I just, by the time I had come out from the morning divination, you know, I come out and you would have thought I like put my hand in a socket or something. Like my mind was blown. It was I was just kind of like, my eyes were wide. They were like, "Are you okay?" I was just like, wow, you guys have no idea what they have for you. You know, I was so excited because not only did they give me all of the things that needed to happen, that they needed to do, the messages that they had for each woman, it was also reflections. And they were also showing the images of them in the future. Why, how they needed to, what they needed to do to get to this higher self, this next level, this image, how to get them from where they are today to this beautiful, prosperous, pure image. All the steps I had written down. I felt like I had gold in my hand. And I was just here as a servant, delivering it to them. Didn't know how they would receive it, but I had to give it to them. And some of the messages I had to give were pretty tough. But there was no way I could not give any of the messages as honest and as clear as it was given to me. I wouldn't rob them of knowing what their ancestors had for them. I just wouldn't do it. And so when I stepped out of the room, and they were just like, "Wow, you know, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes." And, you know, as women, we like to talk, and how did you sleep? How was your rest? And, you know, and we had moments of that. But one of the things the divinities had said was that you guys got to stay on schedule. You guys have so much to do. You can't get caught up in talking and being in your head. And so I had to be mindful of that throughout the weekend. And so we kept the pace. And after that, you know, I met with each woman one by one. I met with each woman, and we went before and gave their consultation. And their consultations also coincided with the earlier messages that were given. And I swear there wasn't a woman there. And, you know, I'll be posting some of the comments that the women are sending me, but that are coming in afterward. But there wasn't a woman there that wasn't blown away by what was told to them. There wasn't a woman there that didn't receive the information where it was just like, no, I can't. Nope, this isn't mine. That doesn't sound like me. This isn't, you know, these aren't my notes. No. And it was quite the opposite, you know. It was the information, the way the ancestors just came and the divinities just let the information flow. It was so piercing that you know, a lot of times tears began to flow. And it was just, I knew this time was coming. I know I can handle this. Okay. I knew this was okay. Whatever it takes, I'm ready, you know? And shout out to all the women that were there and the courageousness that they showed in receiving their messages. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And so that's what we did. We listened to what the divinities and the ancestors said. And then we spent the rest of the weekend aligning ourselves with the plan. We did our spiritual baths. We did our clearings. With each bath, it was clearing energy blocks that were within us, that were keeping us from executing the plan. We were also taking our herbs to help cleanse the blood, help with keeping our immune system boosted. We were doing our reflections. It was just a very powerful weekend. The Divine Mother in all her greatness, you know, we did an offering and a ritual to the Divine Mother. And the way she just came with her retreat, it was her retreat. And she gave charters, assignments to each woman for their mission here. And it was great. You know, if you're a mother, I'm a mother. But as a divine feminine or a divine being, rather, you know, embodying the female energy, our jobs as mothers is to prepare our children to survive in this world. That's the role. That's one of our main roles, is to prepare our children to survive in this world. And I tell you, this retreat truly prepared all of us, me included. I got my own, I got my own charter, my own assignment, prepared us for transformation. Because right now, the energies are moving and shifting. And we have to move and shift with it in order to be successful and survive in this next phase of life. And so all the women that were there were given the roadmap. And I'm so happy for them, because a lot of us, we have to struggle to figure it out. We're having to, find out, how am I going to live in this next 6 months to the next year if life continues the way it is? How do I reinvent myself? What am I going to do? And I tell you, these women were given a roadmap. All they have to do is follow the roadmap. It was so beautiful, the way things were laid out for them. We just gave thanks all weekend gave thanks all weekend to the Divine Mother. You guys forgive me, I'm like going over my notes. I'm trying to make sure that I don't leave anything out. I prepare for you guys every week, so I just want to make sure I'm getting everything to you. One of the things that was consistent, and because although each assignment was different, one of the things that, there were a couple of things that were consistent. Working with the Divine Mother, she again prepares us for survival in this life. And that's just the mother's energy and nature. That's what she's here to do. But the push is uncomfortable. The push is going to stretch us. It's not easy. And, we have to look at that. And all you can do is, say, well, what is the exchange? What is the reward? And so when they laid out, well, this is what comes in exchange. This is what will be at the end of the road. How many of us would like that, to know, okay, I'm going through all this suffering. It's uncomfortable. I'm changing myself. What is the end game? What's the reward? And to know, wow, this is what I get. And for each woman, it was different, because each person has their own plan, their own destiny, their own thing they're supposed to fulfill. And for each woman, it was worth it. For each woman, it was exactly their heart's desire, exactly the thing that they had wanted, exactly the thing that they held in their heart secretly, never telling anyone. Only the Divine Mother can do that. And they said, in order to achieve this, because that's what you'll need in this next time, this is the roadmap. Boom, boom, boom. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it'll be better in the end. And so that became almost like a mantra. And, we would just laugh, because it's like, I've never been here before. This is uncharted territory. I'm afraid, there's a lot of fear, but it's like, okay, we can make it. We can do it. And so one of the things that they were saying, it's so beautiful, and I'll probably end up posting it on my page, honestly, because it relates to a lot of things, and a lot of challenges that we're going through. And I just feel like it's a good mantra, honestly. And they were saying, I'm going to be uncomfortable, but I know I can do it. I will be happier in the end. And it's like, just know that. Just know it's going to be uncomfortable, but you can do it. And you'll be happier in the end. Wherever you are today, you'll be happier. You'll be lighter. Be towards your goal in the end. It will take some uncomfortable times, but it's okay. And, those of us who understand, spirituality, and understand, the principles of the universe and how things work, it's like you cannot pull or ask anything from existence without first giving, right? And so you have to give first. And they say, well, you gotta, whereas that you have to give in order to receive. Yes. Yes, you do. And that's not something that someone, in a marketing department somewhere made up. That is a principle, right? The ebb and flow of life. The principle of opposites. You have to give in order to go to and give in order to receive, excuse me. And so I think I even spoke about that in I think it was episode 1 or episode 2, when I was talking about my journey and some of the things that I had to shed or let go of. It goes with them. Those of you who are researchers and those of you who like to read, it goes with the cycles. It goes with the principle of rhythm. All of those things are what I'm talking about right now. It's like everything in a cycle. It has a rhythm and a certain cadence in which it flows. And just like with the cycles of nature, the cycle of the day, the sun and the moon, the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, and all of those things, it's like you have to give some pain in order to receive what you need. So you have to go through some darkness in order to achieve the light. You have to, give some sweat. You have to go through some pain. And it's better that way. It's better that way. And so, in exchange, the Divine Mother, we made our commitments. And she put us all on a reset. So, it's, and I said this, if you guys don't follow me on Facebook, follow me at either Hanera Abunu or at Divine Feminine Podcast on Facebook. And I went live on Friday and I was talking about the retreat and talking about the detox that we're doing in May and talking about the trip to Africa, which, by the way, the retreat to Africa has been moved to August. The energies are saying that August is more favorable than July. And so that's when we're going. And the focus of the retreat is going to be a little bit different. The focus of the retreat is, instead of going for mainly tourism and spiritual reconnection, we're definitely going for spiritual reconnection. That goes without saying. I'm a priestess and my temples are in Africa. And so we will definitely go to connect to the motherland, to have a spiritual awakening, and to learn certain aspects of ourselves that we've never known. And so that awakening, that spiritual process, the spiritual work and things that need to get done for people, we will do all of that. And on this trip, but instead of the rest of the trip being focused on tourism, we're also going to be focusing a big portion of the time now on looking for land and looking for offices and places to move to. So repatriation. So if any of you are looking to repatriate, and even if it's not a full repatriation, right? And what do I mean by repatriation? Because that's a big word. Move to return home to Africa to live. Even if you're not looking to return to Africa to live, maybe you're looking to have roots or connections, a place to go for maybe a couple months out of the year, a place to go to visit. We're looking to have that, to more set our roots in Africa. Me personally, I want to have a retreat set, a place set for you to come and to be able to stay long term. We have the temples in the village there, but more permanent place where me and my family will be land where we can grow and farm, be self-sustaining, set up a factory to start making and producing some goods, all of those things. So if you're interested in that, you're interested in nation building, if you're interested in, having a place to go to outside of the States, just in case, then you need to email me, you need to DM me, you need to contact me, and we need to have a conversation and see how we can align ourselves. So that's going on about the retreat, the retreat in August to Africa. So that'll again be spirituality and repatriation with a little tourism. We are still going to see some sights and have some fun and enjoy the culture and, enjoy different parts of Africa and things like that. So we are going to do that. Won't be deep, so super deep all the time, but there's just a new focus that's being put on the table. But what I was saying is that the live on Friday, that's what I went over, and I talked about the detox, not knowing. And for me at the time, I was just like, I need to detox. I've been quarantined and I picked up, a couple pounds, and I got the quarantine belly going on. What's going on? I need to work on this. I just don't feel healthy. I feel heavy. And had no idea that the plan that the Divine Mother had was to connect all of this together. All of this together. So the detox that we're doing, she has asked for everyone at the retreat to do it, and they gladly said yes. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing the detox. Some people, and what it is, it's a jump start into the next phase of life. And so those of you who want to join us in doing the Make Cleanse, let me know. I have decided to donate all of the spiritual baths and spiritual soaps that we're going to be using for the month. So for those of you who are serious, let me know, and all you have to do is pay for the shipping, and I will send those out to you so you could join in. And then other people have been saying, well, I want to contribute this, or I want to give this. So we're giving gifts to each other. We're building the sisterhood. And this is great, right? All the feminine energy is just bringing us together. And so if you have a business and or you are creative or has a service or talent and you want to share with the ladies as well as we're part of this group, then feel free. And, we welcome it. And if not, then we still want your energy. We still want you involved. We want your words. We want your encouragement, your feedback. We want you to share in the experiences with us, and we want to give to you. So definitely hit us up. We have a private Facebook group that we're going to be. We have people that are donating their time, exercise and fitness trainers that are going to come and train us. So we'll have that. We have the chef Yo-Yo, Chef Yolanda. She's going to be helping us with the alkaline diet so we can raise our vibration, raise our immune system. She's going to be helping us with that. And it's just going to be a great time. And so that was the weekend. And I just, this particular podcast, that was what we're talking about. We recapped on last week, and we just talked about, how wonderful the retreat was and how the retreat prepared us for the May cleanse, the 30-day May cleanse. So it was an amazing, amazing time. Things that we're going to be looking to do with the cleanse and with the detox in May is very powerful. We're going to focus on purging all of the toxins. We're going to focus on eliminating all of the waste in our bodies. We're going to focus on cleaning our organs, right? I have organ cleansers and blood cleansers. If you don't have them or have your favorite brand, I have them. You can reach out to me. I can get them to you before Friday. We're also going to be looking at our habits. You know, what habits do we need to change? What habits do we have that are not helping us with our greater good, helping us in our becoming, keeping us, they're weighting us down and keeping us from ascending to our higher selves. We're going to be looking to shed all of those. Now, I will tell you that, you know, the ladies over the weekend, they got they got a kickstart or jump start on this because of the divinations and the retreats. But it's not that you can't have the same thing. If you would like to have a reading to find out what your focus should be for May for the detox in order to jumpstart you into the second quarter of the year and prepare you for the rest of 2020, then just message me and we'll schedule some time and I'll prioritize it because you're wanting to do this so that you can start the month of May with us in the cleanse and the detox. It's important. So just let me know. I will say this before I go, that it's going to be a tough journey. We're going to have to discipline ourselves. We're going to share all of the experiences from the weekend. If you guys have questions, be sure to email me, message me, find me on Instagram, on Facebook, I'm online. Until then, we'll talk next week. Be well.
Okay. Hello, Danica. How are you? Welcome.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm doing good. How's everybody?
Good, doing well. I'm glad you were able to hang in there. I had no idea that it was that it was not playing the sound. So thank you for letting me know. I'll have to work on that.
No
This
worries.
is my first time joining. So I didn't know that that it was playing, even though I saw it up on the screen. It didn't occur to me like it's on the screen because they listening to it and I didn't hear it. And I was like, somebody forgot to close out the screen.
Sorry about that. Well, good. I'm glad you were able to at least hear like the more than half of it. So
Now you guys see me, I had to put my earphones on. These are my little earphones that I use when I record the podcast to be able to hear. Normally, I'm the one playing the podcast. And so today, in order to hear, I had to put these on, and then you change what you changed. When I learned this whole setup, there's a function that you have to switch. And Jody will have to give you that function in order to be able to play the audio from your microphone, from your computer into Zoom.
okay.
Do that. Sorry. So that's it just came to me late. but we had already found a solution. That's a beautiful thing about Black women. You know, we find solutions, but nothing holds us back. If we have a goal, the goal is to listen to the podcast. The goal is to do whatever. We find solutions, and that's just beautiful. So we found a solution today. What did you guys think of the podcast? It was good, right?
Definitely, definitely. You know, you talked about the spring retreat, but there was just so much more packed in there. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, listening to it before the portion before the spring retreat, you know, kind of recapping the ancestral altar and putting that information in there. Um, that was beautiful. And then here's one thing I wrote down is that even back in episode 6, right, which was what, April of 2020, I was talking about how entrepreneurship is one of the key components on your spiritual journey. And for those of you who have been listening to the more recent podcasts, and those of you who are working with me personally, you know that there's the entrepreneurship program that's coming in the future. And it is, I don't want to say the first of its kind, but it is a program uniquely so where it pairs African traditional spirituality and entrepreneurship together. And it shows you how to walk that path together, how they are aligned together. And for those of you, even on this call, that are walking the path, you guys can probably attest to that on your journey, how the two kind of, they flirt with each other and they go along. And so in the program, I show how they coordinate and how to maneuver. Sorry, I have people coming in my room. It's raining here and I have a great view. And so everyone is here to kind of see the view out of my room. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hear you.
Okay, good. So I'll just open up the floor. If anyone has any questions, I have a bunch of notes that I wrote down here to talk about, but you guys know me, I can fill the space all myself. Was there anything you guys listening, talking to Ashley and Denica, first about the podcast, and then we can go, you know, into current events. I just got a message while we were listening to the podcast from my daughter's school, San Diego Unified School District, and I want to just kind of take a moment for that. But they're going to mandate vaccinations for the children, and so that is something I want to talk about later. But I want, before that, do you guys have any comments or questions, or want to talk about something, questions from the podcast that just played and everything we just heard? The floor is open.
Yeah, I want to say something. I remember when you had just started the podcast, or at least when I finally started listening to it, it was early on. And then I had spoke with you just before the retreat, like literally a week before. And the reason I remember this is because the retreat was close to my birthday. I think your retreat was on the 24th and my birthday was on the 26th, but I had found out about it too late. In order, so I was like, I can't even go, because I was like, oh, that would be a perfect birthday thing. But I was also still fresh in my initiation at that time with the Earth Center. But when I remember listening to the podcast and just saying, wow, oh man, it was your teaching style. You have a way of just of simplifying things, because what we're dealing with, in existence, ourselves, our ancestors, even the confusion that comes along with us not knowing anything about tradition. You have this way of like taking it and just bringing it together like a nice, delicious pot of like some gumbo
Hello.
where we can dive because you're able to explain it in like just in ways that I haven't heard people do it before. And I was like, what? Oh man. And I spread the word to all of my sisters um, who started to listen to it back then too. And I remember you having those moments where you wasn't sure. Well, I shouldn't say moments because we only communicated about it one time. I can't pretend like I was there with you throughout the whole thing, but it was just that I shared with you how my friends were saying, and these are people that I consider my sisters. Actually, they're like my sisters for
Mhm.
real. How everybody was saying how helpful um, the lessons, the information, you sharing your journey, um, like how everything was, and it was like somebody quenching, a thirst, you
Mhm.
know and I just remember you having that moment. I don't know how long you were going through it or what the case was, and you were like, man, I was thinking, do I need to shut this down? And I think you had said something to the extent of and it was a message. You had just said you had just asked your ancestors. I don't know what it was you had did, but you were like trying to figure out, do you keep doing this podcast or do you stop? And then, when I shared that with you, you were like, man, I think that's an answer. Or, whatever it was, it contributed to whatever it was you were trying to understand. So to be where we are today and the fact that you continue to do it in the midst of like relocating, repatriating, uh, oh my God, with your children, uh,
Yeah.
and you're doing all of these things and taking everybody. But we needed to see somebody doing it, to know that it is possible, you know. And I know I think it's one of the more recent episodes. I can't remember if it's 39 or 38. It's one of those episodes where one of the elder sisters has said to you, like, look, you done did it. Some of us need to know how to do it,
Okay.
and I agree with what she was saying with that, like, nah, people, look, we trudging, we trying, and not having certain resources or knowing how to come together. There's a lot of different things where we can become a block to ourselves,
Mhm.
so hearing you, go through this journey, with everything that you've shared with us. And then what you shared, like in your most recent ones, it's like, man, just very thankful for you. Priestess, please just keep doing what you're doing. So I just wanted to put that out there, like, yes, she's doing it. This is episode 42 or 44, whatever she got. Hey, we doing this. Then we needed to see somebody who's doing it and who's able to still have that spiritual honesty, just don't sugarcoat nothing for us. And we need to see ourselves, like you said, how you presented everything to the sisters at the retreat. Like, I'm gonna have to tell them this, it's not gonna be nice, but I gotta tell them. I can't, I understand that. And healing, going through transformation is not supposed to be comfortable, so we're like, yo, just bring it. So I just wanted to speak on that, and again just say thank you for continuing the journey and doing the work and sharing with us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I on behalf of all podcasters, right? Because you're not being honest with yourself as a podcaster if you haven't had at least one or two moments where you say, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I don't, is anyone listening? Are these people being affected? Or, the people, all the views, is it helpful? Um, and then some type of confirmation will happen, to keep you, going. And yeah, I think every podcaster has experienced that. I have a couple podcaster friends. I'm in podcast groups, and all of us have expressed the same thing. We kind of like pat each other on the back, right? And console one another when it comes to certain things. So yeah, you just have to persevere. And I'm glad that I did. In the midst of the repatriation and COVID, the pandemic, all of that, for me, I get on myself like, you know what, we should be, have more episodes. We should have this, we should have that. And then sometimes I just have to kind of like sit and pause. And this was one of those moments, just listening to you, Denica, and just say, yeah, well, you did that in the midst of this. And, we just had to see somebody do it. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for being so transparent. And I appreciate that. I do it because it's on my path to do that, and if anyone has been with me or speak with me and know me in real life, you know that when it comes to my spiritual journey, I'm very, very serious. Nothing, no one, not even myself, gets in the way of my spiritual journey. I walk the path that my ancestors have set before me, and no matter how rigid it is, my feet are on that path. And so, for me, I just have no choice. Sometimes I laugh to keep from crying, like, okay, you want me to do this? Okay. That's all I can say is okay. I don't know how. No one in my family has ever done it. I don't have any elders or anyone in my recent peer group that I can go to, but okay, I just have you. And that is enough. And so that will be a lot of people's story too. They only have their spiritual path, their connection with their ancestors. That's all they have to guide them, especially during this time. And that's thank you for sharing those words and reminding me of our conversations and all those times. And it's, it for me,
Hello? You're on mute.
I lost you guys. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you
Okay.
now.
So it's raining here, and I live in a pretty metropolitan part of Kokomo, right by the airport. But every now and then we'll have maybe power outages, or the internet will get bad, and sometimes that happens when the weather is kind of bad. So right now there's a beautiful rainstorm going on outside. I can't wait to go look at it. And so my internet connection is poor. So you guys bear with me. That was part of the reason I asked Ashley to host, so that we could get the connection and get the audio going. So what I was saying was that one of the things I wrote down and took note of was that even back then, in April of 2020, which was when I did this particular podcast, Spring Break, or Spring Retreat, excuse me. In my speech, I was already talking about the upcoming trip being partly spiritual and partly repatriation. I think that was just maybe 1 or 2 months into COVID. And I was already talking about repatriation and getting my kids out of here.
And here it is now, you fast forward a year and a half, right? We're in September of 2021. And I haven't shared this with many people, or maybe I did on the last episode, but I know this upcoming episode, I'm gonna talk about it more, is that the focus is preparing for those who stay, right? And what I mean by preparing for those who stay is, you know, there will be those of us who are ahead of the curve and are going to repatriate, move out of the states, do what they need to in order to protect themselves and their families. But there will also be a group of us who have an attachment for whatever reason to America. And for those of us who have an attachment to America, but yet are trying to align yourself with nature, it will be extremely difficult for you in the upcoming years. The agenda and the propaganda that they're pushing, the divide that is widening will continue, and we will essentially be pushed out of society. So we'll have to create our own. We will have to survive. And as Black women, we have survived all of these years, all of these generations. And we will survive in this next time as well. And so what am I saying? What are you saying? Is that for me, the slight change that happened from listening to episode 6 to now is that, yes, repatriation is the key. And that's what I did for my children. My children will not endure what we are about to endure in America in the next few years. They just won't do it. I want better for my children. They're the next generation. I'm willing to sacrifice to make sure that they have it. So my boys, my youngest 2 boys who are in school, we are living in Benin, and they are going to, one's going to a French school, one's going to a Nigerian school here in Benin. And they're with their brothers, and they're in what is it called? Engrossed into the culture, our culture, for once, right? It's a beautiful thing. My kids are here. My kids are good. But there will be, there will be many of us who don't leave, who don't go, who don't even have a mind to go. There's people who are just now starting to awaken. They don't even have what we have. Talking about the ladies on the call. They don't even have what we have. There's people who are just now starting to come up out of their slumber and realize, you know, maybe this government isn't for me. And so for them, and for those of us who stay because we have family here, because we're attached, whatever the attachment is, what do we do when our principles are on the line? Where do we go? How do we choose? How do we live? How do we survive? You know, one of the things I've been talking about is taboos and non-negotiables, right? Yeah, when you go through African traditional spirituality and you study deeper, you go through initiation and you get your spiritual taboos. But you can also have your own set of non-negotiables, you know, that you will not do. Social non-negotiables, nutrition, you set the boundaries, how to protect your purity. Right? And so right now, this is causing us to have to really decide and choose, you know, And now I'm going into the discussion of the shot and vaccinations and all of that, right? So forgive me, I'm kind of segueing, but you guys rolling with me, I presume.
It's okay.
And so you will have to choose, right? You'll have to choose. I just got an email right now while we were on the call. 6:33. Right now it's 7:30. So an hour ago, we were 30 minutes into the Zoom call, and it's from San Diego Unified School District. And it's talking about they are to consider mandating the vaccine. If you guys can. You can't see. Yeah, mandating the vaccine, which means my senior, who the only reason she's there is to graduate and would have to be getting vaccinated. Well, see, this is the reason I left last year. They showed me all of this. Not only did they show it to me in a series of dreams, but the divinations that came through from all the temples here just confirmed it. Before there was a vaccine, the temples saw the vaccine. We got so much information on how the virus was started, the fact that it was started, it was man-made, the reason it was presented, who did, like the indigenous people, we have all that information. But when you talk about it, people say you're crazy. So I just don't talk about it. Just watch how I move. Right? So repatriation is for those who have the money, those who are in a position where they can leave. But for those of us who cannot, what are we going to do? We will have to sit here and choose. In the Bay Area in California, and I don't know how it is in New Jersey and in Houston, but in the Bay Area in California, restaurants have started mandating you to have your vaccination card in order to enter the establishment. Not wear a mask. We've seen that, right? You gotta wear a mask. No, this is have the card, the shot. You have to be vaccinated in order to go into the restaurant. The government just mandated that you have to be vaccinated if you're in the government. The school district here, San Diego, is mandating that all their employees get vaccinated. Now they want to do it for the children. This is what I'm reading now. So it's coming. So where do you go if you stand firm and don't get vaccinated? Where do you go? What do you do? So this is why it's so important for us to have the temple. I started talking about the temple with Alot. It was revealed to me that a temple needed to come, or redeemed temple needed to come to America. My temple needed to come to America. And you know, there's plenty of people who come to Africa and get initiated or go through their ceremony. There's plenty of Babalawi out there. There's plenty of Namis out there. Those are all just different types of priests, right? But they want to come and go into the American ground with the soil. What does that mean? Things are about to really get shaken up here. And we have to get serious about the way we're going to be say, living our lives in the next year, like now. Right? We need to be growing on things. We need to be living community in groups. It is not good for us to live alone. You need to figure out a way how to start your own business and minimize your expenses so that you can live off of what income you're making from your new job, not the old job, right? The salary that gives you all the benefits and the high paid job. No, minimize your expenses so that you can live off of a small, meager piece of money, right, from your new business. A lot of us, we can't do it, but it's gonna be necessary because it's part of survival. They're gonna push us out. You can't go into the hospital, you can't go into, okay, you won't be able to go nowhere. Can't get a job. I don't know why y'all want a job anyway, but no, you can't, you can't get a job. You won't be able to get welfare, unemployment, Section 8, assistance, nothing. Right? And for some of us women, we don't want to hear that. And why not? Because that's our man, right? We don't put up with the men anymore because we can just go get a check to replace the man. They got a WIC check, they got a Section 8 check. They got a welfare check, a food stamp check. We ain't gotta put up with no man for nothing. Because the government will give us a check to replace our black men. Y'all don't like it? I was guilty of it in the past. I'm finished. They got me at 1.5 and said, I know what we're faced with. But we won't be able to do it anymore. Oh, guess what? We'll vaccinate our families. Right? It'll be a true test for us what we want, what we stand for, who we are as people. Y'all ain't ready for this discussion. Okay, I'm done with my rant. What's your question? Because I can go on and on. You guys know this is so passionate and so close to my heart. Because this is our real life. This is the real life and time that we're living in.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. You know, even just walking this path during this time, I think this time ignited me walking the spiritual path because I had time, like during the quarantine, to sit and think and listen to the ancestors because they were knocking at my door during that time. And so like everything that's happening kind of pushing me to be more independent, right? Looking at starting my own business, looking at, you know, when I buy a house, do I want to buy a house in a neighborhood or do I want to get my own land and build my own space and, you know, be more independent away from the city or away from, you know, kind of control. And so like those type of things, you know, have been coming up for me during this time, even, you know, getting property overseas, you know, in order to have a place to go if, you know, let's say I'm not, you know, working out, this is not working out for me here in the US, or, you know, even having those difficult questions about homeschool or no homeschool, you know, and what do you do? So I think like the times are really pulling and calling for us to make a different type of change and live more independently, because I don't want somebody to hang a carrot in front of my face and say, well, if you don't do this, you know, the vaccine is one thing, and then also, you know, they'll make, this will be a precedent for other things, right? If you don't do this, then I'll take the carrot away, you won't be able to sustain yourself. And I can see that happening over time. And that's one thing that I was really, you know, cautious about when thinking about the vaccine, because this goes through in an emergency situation that kind of make it seem like this sets a precedent. And the next, you know, thing that happens, the government can come in and say, oh, we have precedent for this. You have to, you know, if you don't do this, we'll take your livelihood away. And so this is the thought process that a lot of people go through, but I think this time is pushing spiritual people even more to step back, right? Be more independent, take more control.
And one of the beautiful things that I have started to notice is that all of the labels, our ancestors and the divine mother, like all of the labels that we put on ourselves, right? We say we are, what are some of the labels? We say we are Black, we are white, we are vegan, we are gay, we are straight, we are, what are some of the labels that they put, all of these categorized or categories that we kind of group ourselves in as humans. This here transcends all of that. It transcends, it doesn't matter if you're Christian, if you're Islamic, if you're traditional, like whatever your beliefs are, whoever you are, it's really pulling forth what you believe and causing you to think. Causing you to think. I see people, protesting and trying to fight the system. We can't fight the system. We just have to, protect ourselves. What do we think they're gonna do? Undo anything that they're doing? No. That's just not my stance. Shout out to the brothers and sisters who are out there, making change on the local level and throwing rocks at a giant, right? And that's just not what I'm called to do. I'm called to fight with people. So let me put it to you like that. But what I'm saying is, we are coming together as a human race to say, this is not right, or this is right. I'm either going to stand with the system or against the system. I'm either going to be with nature or what's natural, or I'm going to be against nature. Go more with the machine. And for some people, it has to do with progress. Just to be honest. It has to do with who's winning. Progress. That's why, a lot of, I see it here in Africa. You would think living in an African country, you would be able to get a lot of the culture from, say, Nile Valley times or Pharaonic times. And, Africa has been colonized too. And so we don't see that until we're here and living here. And a lot of times, I'm living in Benin, right? The national religion is voodoo, right? This is the origin of voodoo. However, there's more Christians here and Islamic people than anything that are out present in the forefront. I was very, very shocked. And it's because of their perception of progress and how to move forward and survive economic progress. And so that's how a lot of us are. Right? That's how a lot of us are. Everyone now is talking about the energy and, saying certain spiritual cool words, so to speak, get you certain points. And that's the end thing to do now. And so that's seen as progress. And so people are starting to move in that direction. But they're still controlling the masses. And for those of us who are waking up, and those of us who are becoming more spiritual, what do? Where do we go? So the temple is coming. That is my solution to that question. Each of us will have to answer that question on our own, right? And you're like, what does it look like for you? You know, you will have for me, the answer is the echo village. And so in episode 6, I talked about repatriating and looking for land in Africa to create the eco village and start farming and having a manufacturing company and all of those things. There's been a slight change. So just an update, current day, Saturday, September 25, right? I've opened up 2 businesses. One is an import-export company. The second is a restaurant that's on the beach. It's under construction right now. We're talking about 3 days being done. I'm looking at buying land on the beach to open up a guest house. Right, and that guest house is exactly what we talked about in episode 6, is having a place for people to come to. There's been so action, whether you want to visit or whether you want to live or you're just looking for a community outside of America, and you know, you don't want to admit that you want to live the modern lifestyle, right? You want Western modern amenities, right? The guest house will be there for people, right? And so that's what I'm looking for land to do here and getting the modification to what I was saying in episode 6 is that there will also be the eco village, the farming, being in harmony with nature. That is already here in abundance in Africa. The movement and the energy in Africa is more towards modernization. And so to get in the way of with that, the house here will be modern and Western. What we need to do back in the States, that's where we need to harmonize with nature. We're so far out of balance there with everything being mechanical, with everything being instant, with everything being everything opposite of nature. That's where we need to go into the rural areas and begin to get nature. So for that, the eco village will be there and the temple will be in the eco village. And so that is the solution that I'm presenting to the question, what are we going to do with purchase items? You guys thoughts? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, I didn't want to, you know, I was waiting for you to finish. I wasn't going to jump in, and I didn't want to interrupt. I got to leave shortly because I got to take my son somewhere. But man, it's interesting to be at this point now in my 20s. I'm 45 now, but I think I was about 27, 28 because when I started my journey, I didn't know. And at that time I was living in Georgia. I didn't really know. Well, I knew some, but I didn't really know much or anything as far as like African traditions and so forth. And so the people that I was exposed to around that time were my indigenous brothers and sisters, you know, from here, from the States. And a lot of what is coming forth now is what we were hearing back then, you know, even back then, how, and it wasn't even just us. Just to give y'all a little background, man, I came across a lot of information, like, you know, how you're talking about the eco villages and so forth, because I was trying to start my own back then. People had their own personal agendas, so it didn't really come forth. But during that time, we used to have like at least 16 to 20 people. We would come together and we would go visit different ones because we were at the time just trying to acquire certain skill sets so that we could actually have the ability to start a village, you know. So aside from gardening, aside from, you know, stuff like that, you have to know how to do like the natural building and all of these things. And so I remember one place in particular that we went to. I think they're in North Carolina, in the, like in the Blue Ridge Mountains, actually. This place that we had drove up to visit. I think about 11. It was about 11 or 12 of us that went up there. All Black folk. All of them white folks was like crying. They're like, "Oh my God, finally, y'all showing up!" Like, yo, we've been waiting for y'all. And so these eco villages, because there's a lot of them, a lot of them that started however long ago, where people are just basically saying like, we're not subscribing to to what the modern society is doing right now. We're trying our best to
Right.
to live more in harmony in nature with what we have and with what we know. And they had, a lot of these people again had learned from other Native Americans the same thing, like, yo, you have to eventually come back to nature, because what you're doing right now is extremely toxic and disruptive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I had been on this journey, and I didn't necessarily connect with or move into any particular eco village, because at that time it was just too white and it wasn't enough. I'm just being real. It just wasn't enough
Yeah.
of my people and culture. And I didn't want to bring my children up in that, but I'm not going to lie. A part of me is like, maybe I should have, so I could have been surrounded with just people doing things in a certain way and to get the skill set. Because even in the process of me like homeschooling my kids, I had older kids. Well, my oldest son is still in Seattle, but even in the process of me like staying in the city or the suburbs, and just to be around my people wasn't necessarily taking the steps to acquire, everything we're talking about, because people are comfortable. I always say, our people are content with the discontent. Like they've made their adjustment, they've gotten used to it and they're cool
Right.
with it. And so I've had to do a lot. Like you can sit there and teach your children all of these things that they really need to know, but what makes it stick and what really helps them to really grow into it and transform and like really hold on to that is having that reinforcement, because some people were supposedly setting up some spaces down there for us. So I had did all of this traveling. I've done a lot of stuff as far as like taking the steps to like really connect to a community or to help establish a community. And it was like everywhere I went, it was like a dead end. Going to the Yucatan, going to Tennessee, and I was seeing the same thing over and over and over. Here I am now. This is definitely close to 20 years later, because my son at that time, he was like 4 or 5 years old. He is 20. In a couple of months, he'll be 21. So I've looked back at the process like, dang, okay, Danica, you gotta, whoo, girl, it's time. You gotta start just making the moves right now. The beauty in it is that because my kids were at least exposed to certain things, and because of the way that I have brought them up, like just even having our lessons and our meetings outside of anything dealing with school or just what everybody else is doing, they hear me, they listen to me, and they are thinking differently, to the point where I know that we can start to work together. And even with regards to vaccines, I stopped getting my kids vaccinated back then. My daughter, she never had any vaccines. She's never had any vaccines. My son, the only reason he got vaccines was because his father took him to get some without my knowledge and without my permission. And so it's only my oldest child that actually has the vaccines, because I mean, I was 16. So, you do, at that time I just didn't have the knowledge that I have now. So just coming back full circle around to say, man, we have been told, you know, um, we have been told, by the divinities, by the ancestors for years. This is not a new message. It's just that we're getting to that point where it's like, look, y'all running out of time. But we have been told, because I'm like, dang, I'm 45. And the elders back then were telling us, and we was like 26, 27, like it was a bunch of us that were young. They didn't quite get it. Okay, I'm coming in 5 minutes. I know. It's my son, like, yo, we supposed to leave. But this is the time. Like, we don't have no time to play right now. I used to study permaculture. Now I'm trying to get back into that, and that's just learning how to like really design the land, like where you're going to have your home, and set it up in a way so that it doesn't disrupt, you know, how things are in your landscaping and with nature. So it's like a combination of like farming and landscaping almost, you know, and just the way that you're designing your home. So there's a lot of things that I had already taken the steps to do, and I'm glad that I did that and at least got my kids exposed to it, because now I'm just coming back full circle. Like, I mean, there ain't nowhere other way to do it, you know. And I mean, who else you gonna stand with? Like, why wouldn't I stand with nature? And I think like Canada has definitely mandated it. I had just spoke with a friend the other day that was supposed to travel into Montreal and got turned away at the airport.
Really?
You know, yeah, because he didn't have a vaccine. You can't board the plane, period. So Canada is like 100% lockdown. Like, no, they've already pushed that. And I think there's a couple other nations that are doing it, but the media is not. And I'm a digital marketer, so I can tell you like all of the, well, I have to know the policies. I have to know like what Google says, what Facebook says, what everybody is saying. And, you know, remember, they've had the heat on them from the government, you know, for a minute, you know, and just expecting them to hold a certain responsibility. So they are in unison with the law because, well, they don't really have any choice. So they're not showing the people that are fighting back in the other countries, because it's not just here in America, you know, where it's a small group of people that don't want the vaccine and don't like how things are going. This is truly a global thing right now.
Right.
You know, so I just wanted to point that out. Like, they're not, the media is not giving the attention. They're not going to show the people who are fighting and resisting, because there are a lot of crazy side effects that are happening. There's a lot of things that are happening right now. So this is something where it's going to be the people, and it's going to be us coming together to take the steps, you know, for those of us who are kind of stuck here. Because at this point, I'm like, dang, if they're interfering with our travel, how are we? I was like, how? So we leave the country. First of all, you got to go to a country that'll let you in without the vaccine, you know, but you may not be able to get back into the States without the vaccine, because I think they're about to start mandating that as well. So, I mean, we're at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta go. My son is like knocking on my door, but
Oh, thank you for your energy. Thank you, Danica.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you all too, okay? And obviously I'll be at the next one.
Okay.
Y'all have a
Nice.
good
See you next
day.
month. Drive safe. So Ashley, tell me what you think about that. What do you think about the vaccine conversation and the things that our sister Danica shared?
I think it's interesting, you know, personally, I've not been against vaccines, you know, as far as like polio and all of that. So like I've been, you know, vaccinated as far as like all through childhood, and my son has too. I think as the transition that I've been doing happened during COVID is making me think a lot about the control that they put around the vaccine. But my mind is still moving. And I don't know, I guess it's the same for maybe some other people who have maybe just started their journey. Their minds are still trying to align themselves with what nature is, what others' opinions are, what their opinions should be, or what their stance should be. And so that's kind of where I am right now. So, but I did think it was interesting as far as like having the other eco villages and people having like the same type of mindset. I don't know if that's where my mind is yet, but definitely where my path is going is to breaking away and being more independent. So I don't have to fight those battles of, you know, you can't live here if you don't do a certain thing, or if you don't follow a certain rule, or you can't go to school here if you don't, you know, get vaccinated or something like that. I'm trying to make my world either here or somewhere, but that's kind of where I am, honestly.
And, you know, right now, for the time that this particular system of capitalization is still in rule, the way to avoid this conversation is position yourself to be a part of the haves, right? Despite your label, despite your ethnicity, despite your subgroup, if you put yourself a part of the haves, then you don't have to have this discussion. You're not affected. And so that's where, you know, being independent and entrepreneurial to me puts you in the haves, right? If you have independence, if you have multiple streams of income, if you have family support, if you have a network of people to help you, then you don't have to worry too much about this because you're not depending on the system. You're not dependent, you're independent. And so that is one thing that, we have to strive for. And I think that in following your spiritual journey and becoming a small business owner, that is definitely on the path. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
for me, I've had this message years ago as well. And the way Sister Jennifer was explaining, being in different circles with Indigenous elders and being warned about this 20 years ago. I wouldn't say the messages I received was that far back. I wasn't raised indigenously for me, but the messages definitely came 10 plus years ago. And like she said, now it's at a point where they're like screaming at us. Like, you have to get in action, now, because people need to. And this is like it's happening. Like everything that we're doing is gonna happen. Like it's happening. And as you read the newspaper, as you look at the news on TV, you can see it. You can see it. I look at the news and the way that they're sending this information out and avoiding other information. It's just one big minstrel show. And I don't have a TV. So this was, what was that? I was at my mother's house in Houston. And I was just like, this is what it looks like to be in the matrix, right? I can't believe I'm watching it. And so that's what we have to do. Right? We have to prepare ourselves. We have to be independent. For me, building the temple here is clear. We have to prepare ourselves. Maybe even before COVID, I was homeschooling my children. My youngest child wasn't vaccinated at all. And we weren't going to vaccinate them before COVID. So when COVID started, I knew how much more rigid and narrow the road was becoming for a traditional mother like myself. And so I look at sisters like you, who, like you said, are just now starting their spiritual journey, and you're just now having to face those challenges. And I say courage to you. I send you courage and good faith because, you on the right path for your family. But it's going to take the sacrifice of the woman of the house to make it happen.
Yes.
It will definitely take the sacrifice of you to make sure that your child and your family, not just your child, your husband too, that everyone has what they need. And what does that look like? What type of sacrifice is that going to take? And so we will have to evaluate that. Is it going to be late nights, early mornings? Is it going to be, you working from home or not working at home and be taking care of the house in order to homeschool? What type of sacrifice is it going to take to be good at what you're choosing to do, which is take care of the family? And so for that, again, I say, I'm sending you good courage and French is bon courage. I'm sending you perseverance, diligence. And you know I'm here if you have questions, but just know that there's, many women are having to be faced with that same question as this one.
Thank you for your words. It's really reassuring and helpful for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm pushing through and trying to create that life. But yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're looking at about 2 hours. I know there's someone trying to come in and peep out. They must have a bad internet connection. That's okay, but do you have any last comments, questions, or things you want to mention or talk about before we end the discussion?
No, I think that was it. It was a really good discussion. I know it was just the three of us, but it seems that even when we have, these intimate discussions, they really like hit some interesting points. And now I'll probably be thinking all weekend.
Wasn't it like that last month also?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's good. These things are what they're supposed to be. All I have to do is just show up, right? And everything that is supposed to happen, the people that are supposed to be on the call, they're gonna get the word that they need. And we're gonna talk about and help each other in the ways that we need to. Yeah, so I just, like we started the podcast with, right? Like we started the podcast. I'm just walking the path and doing what they asked me to do. And so, yeah, I think with that, we can go ahead and close out the podcast. Welcome, Sheila. Yeah, we're ending, but I'll make sure to save it and put it in the chat so you can listen.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank everyone. Thank you, Danica, for attending and giving your energy, your good questions, your comments. And it was very nice to meet you and hear your background. Thank you, Priestess Hanera, for taking time all the way from Benin to host this podcast and give us a space where we can form a sisterhood and we can ask our questions and really, be a community. So we thank you for your leadership. And I hope to see you guys next time. The podcast discussions are the last Saturday of every month. So we'll be sending out in the WhatsApp group and on social media when the next podcast will be and the invite for that. And then again, the conversation doesn't stop here. So we'll be posting this on social media, the WhatsApp group. And so we can continue to talk about all the social issues and even this podcast. Priestess, is there any last words?
No, you summed it up. I'll see you guys next month. I think it's October 30th. That's Halloween weekend. So until then, be well.
Bye.